All right. Welcome, everybody. Let's see. I think folks are still slowly coming in from the waiting room. This is overview of cyber literacy for middle school and high school teachers. So check your schedule. Make sure you're in the right place. All right. Got a few people trickling in. All right. That has kind of slowed down. Um, we'll go ahead and get started. I'll keep an eye on the waiting room in case more folks show up. But like I said, this is overview of cyber literacy for middle school and high school teachers. So welcome. My name is Linda Morgan, and I am a curriculum development specialist here at cyber.org. I am joining you this evening from the lovely Bossier City, Louisiana. No one has ever heard of it, but we are right across the river from Shreveport. So we're in North Louisiana. So before starting at cyber.org, almost about 2 years ago, I was in the classroom teaching middle school math, science, and then robotics electives for sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. So if you look down in the corner of the screen there, I actually have a Cyberbot in my hand. This was my last best yearbook photo. Never looked that good ever again. But Linda.Morgan at cyber.org is the email address for me. And if you send me an email with questions, thoughts, or concerns after tonight's PD, I will answer them. So we'll go ahead and move right along. So it looks like in the participants list, everybody handled business. But so that I can help the staff member in our office who puts together the participation certificates. If there are any among you who still need to change your name, you can, if you find yourself, hover over yourself, click the three dots. There is the option to click rename, and then you can type in at least your first name. That just helps me sort of match names to email addresses so that I can tell our staff member where to send your certificates. All right, so looking at our agenda for the evening, our objectives are to introduce the new units in cyber literacy, to look at part of the new lesson guide format, see an example of a student handout and its answer key, and then we have a activity from the course that we are going to complete, and I'll wind up putting you into some breakout rooms for that. And then, as is customary here at cyber.org, towards the end, we will have a survey for you to fill out to let folks know how I did. Hopefully, so I can keep my job. But enough about me. Let's talk about you. I have a poll. I just have to find the button. Nothing ever works the way that you think it's going to when you practice these things. Here we go. All right, so that should have popped up on your screen. Notice there are a healthy selection of choices. So if you would go ahead and pick the option that best describes your role. All right, looks like middle school and high school are fighting for a representation. Where are my middle school folks at? All right, so 14 out of 14 answered. Um, so fantastic. I will go ahead and end this poll. Wow, Sylvie, 6th through 12th grade. That's that's a heavy lift. Glad you're here. So I'm going to click end on the poll there, and I can make that go away. All right. So a little bit about cyber literacy before we dig in. I am going to take you over to the Canvas page as well to show you where it is located and how to find it. But so much like cyber literacy of the past, cyber literacy, this newest iteration is still a hands-on course, but this one is designed to develop Python coding skills. So the course itself is um, going to immerse upper middle school and high school students into the essentials of digital security as well. So we've added some cybersecurity components. The course uses the versatile and low-cost BBC microbit. It contains scripted lessons, presentations, and other materials for teaching the lesson. And if your students get good, you can eventually integrate the Parallax Cyberbot for further exploration in robotics coding. And so this year-long course supports the initiative to develop a better educated cyber workforce by exploring the intersection of coding and cybersecurity. So we have a couple of different units within cyber literacy. The first unit being the microbit. And so this will familiarize students with the microbit and also with the website that you use in order to code the microbit. The next unit is scripting. And so this unit establishes common tasks and how those common tasks can be used together to create more complex scripts. From there, we cover encryption. This is super exciting. Encryption covers all the way from Caesar cipher up to AES encryption, so actual encryption that is still being used. And then we move into radio networks. So not only will this unit see students using the microbit to send messages back and forth to each other, but they will also encrypt that communication, create networks, and using the radio network system leads into the final unit attacks and defenses, because they'll be able to use their microbits to simulate cyber attacks and learn about some of the defenses for those attacks. So I want to hop over to the website. So cyber.org. If you are familiar and you have signed up for access to our curriculum, then this page looks super familiar to you. I'm going to go ahead and log in. And that brings us to the dashboard. The dashboard this year has gone through a revision. It is now separated by elementary, middle, high school, self-paced professional development, which is where your friends will be able to find tonight's PD recording and past content. You'll notice that between elementary and middle and high school, there is some overlap in courses, and that is not to say that if you're an elementary teacher, you can't go and look at the middle school or the high school stuff. It's just that in the olden days, when you got access to our curriculum, you got access to our curriculum. You got everything. And so when you got to the dashboard, like all the courses you had access to would be listed, and it was a little bit daunting. So this division just sort of adds comfort for new teachers who are looking, where do I go? Where do I fit? And so in the high school and also the middle school is where you'll find the course eventually. We had Oh, there it is. We had the issue that here in the office, I could see the course, and my bosses could see the course, and we kind of forgot that not everyone else could see the course. So, real quick, fast, in a hurry, a staff member went through and made sure that everyone who was attending tonight would be able to see the course in your Canvas if you're following along. So, it should be there. So when I click into this, please be the right one. And of course it's not. So I'm going to click on all courses, and you can navigate through Canvas this way as well. So I am going to click on correct cyber literacy. Okay. Let's try that again. Finally, there we go. So this is the landing page. It gives you a course overview of the course. And then under content, we have linked it up top here so that you can jump to any particular section, any unit that you're on. But the units are all listed on this main page. So it starts with the microbit, goes into scripting. And so you'll notice that where there will always be lesson notes, there will always be slides, and then the number of handouts varies depending on the activity. And so scripting essentials, that common task, has a handout for each of the common tasks, as well as an answer sheet for teachers. So then moving further along through, we get down into the encryption section. And so again, the number of handouts varies. Radio, network, and then attacks and defenses is coming soon. We are finishing that up. I'd say we're probably about 75% finished there, and we'll be ready to put those up within definitely by the end of the month. So clicking on each link will take you directly to each part. All right, so go back here. And so for folks who have taught cyber literacy before, probably the most noticeable thing that you're going to see when you start going through these lessons is the new format of the lesson guide. So we have worked to script these lessons more than cyber literacy has been scripted in the past. So you'll notice that each lesson guide starts at the top with the unit and the lesson name. It goes into a lesson overview just to give you a quick blurb about what the lesson will be about. You've got your student objectives up here, your guiding question, suggested grade level, the technology that is needed in order to complete the lesson, the approximate time that it would take to teach the lesson, and standards. So cyber literacy has links to our standards. It also has links to the Computer Science Teacher Association standards. So we're referring to those as compatible. We're not going to say aligned because we read through the lessons and we decided which ones were probably the most appropriate for the lesson. These have not been submitted to CSA, so we're saying that the standards are compatible based on what the students will learn in the lesson. So all the things on the cover sheet here that go into your lesson plan and really get you that top-notch review whenever your administration comes in for an observation. On the next pages in the lesson background, you're going to find a little bit more background information, things that are helpful to know for the teacher before teaching the lesson. Your materials list, which depending on the lesson, will have materials per class, materials per group of 2, and also optionally materials per student. Because once you get up into the higher units and you're working with like radio networks, a lot of the lessons are going to move into where it would be more appropriate for students who are partnering up to have their own computer, laptop, or Chromebook, and their own microbit in order to be able to complete the lesson. Also cyber terms. So we've got some vocabulary in cyber literacy now. So then when you get to the I guess, first real page of the lesson plan, which actually gets into the material. Again, you've got the title up there and your guiding question. And then each section of the lesson is divided up and has a name and also about how long that particular part of the lesson will take in that total time that it would take to teach the lesson. So the lesson guide walks you through the PowerPoint slide by slide and gives you the information that is important for the students to know at each slide. So you'll notice that the teacher verbs, if you will, are bolded so that you get a better idea of what it is that you are supposed to be doing. And in places where we thought it would be helpful and appropriate, we have included some lesson notes just to make the job a little bit easier. Each section or each lesson has a putting it all together session with review questions for that formative assessment piece. These questions can be used as exit tickets, either digitally through like Google Forms. I've had kids do, note cards where they answered the question, and it was literally their exit ticket. I wouldn't let them leave until they had something written down. So this is a good way to sort of drive instruction for the next session to get an idea of what students understand about the lesson and what students aren't quite getting yet. And so you'll see that everything again is a little more scripted than it used to be. So you've got your questions, and then in the lesson guide also your sample student answers to be able to guide your students in the right direction. And a lot of the lessons have extensions at the end. So if you have more time, if you want to go a little bit deeper into the learning, then you have some ideas of what you can do with your students. So um, the handouts will you'll notice in Canvas came in two varieties, uh, the student version and then your answer key. And in most places, it is labeled answer key so that you know which document you're downloading and which one you're accessing. So these are everything, well, except for the PowerPoints, are in PDF format. So they are suitable for placing in an LMS like Google Classroom. We were using OnCourse before I left the classroom. If any of you poor folks are still using Schoology, so they can be put in there, which my kids really liked because then they could actually, use the text tool and, come in and put a text box in there and actually type their answer instead of having to write things out. So you have some options on how to present the handouts to the students. And that may be something that you want to consider when you're going through, because some of the handouts are quite long, just because there is a lot to do. There is a lot for the students to do in that particular lesson. So we are going to take a look at an activity. And so in order to prepare for that, want to show you the microbit Python editor. So the microbit Python editor is a little bit different website than folks who have worked with the microbit in the past. Some of you might be used to MakeCode. That is a different website. I like that with the drag and drop blocks that are there, you can actually have them turned into Python. And so it can show you the code in a couple of different ways that those blocks create. But this particular iteration of the website uses just Python straight out the gate. And so the sample program that is already in there has the microbit library already pulled in, and it's got a cute little program. And I like that it also has a simulator. And so before I ever gave my students a microbit of their own, they coded and used the simulator quite a bit. And so I kind of used it to build up some excitement in my class, because my kids would be like, Miss Morgan, when are we going to actually get to use the microbit? So they were very excited to get their hands on a microbit and be able to download the files, the scripts that they had created into the microbit itself. But the simulator is still nice because it will show the students what the program would do on the screen. It will also show if there is an error message. So your error message is actually going to show up in a couple of places. You've got your different kinds of dots that appear. This one is for an error, and so syntax error there because I separated display. It shows you that that same error would display across the microbit screen, and then you've even got it here in this pink color as well. Other types of messages that will appear. This little circle right here that has turned into a square and is gray tells us that this code is unreachable. And that makes sense because I put it down under the while loop, which is going to run forever. So it's never going to get to this portion. So I like this particular program because it will help the students and give some indications of what will and will not work before they download. So it does help make troubleshooting a little bit easier. And so students can name their project and actually save them. Oops, hold on. My tools popped up in my way. Save. And so it'll tell you that this has been saved as a hex file in your downloads folder. Even the Chromebook has a downloads folder. So if they are working on a Chromebook and have access to OneDrive or Google Drive or something like that, they can pull that hex file over into their cloud storage. You can go through the grueling task of teaching them how to use a flash drive. Um, that took a lot longer for my sixth graders than I thought it was going to. Um, but that makes sense because they thought a floppy disk that I had in my classroom was a 3D print of the save button. And so we had to have a long conversation about the history of storage. So if students want to open their files, they can click the open button. But my favorite way to do that is to simply grab the file from its location and pull it over and drop it on to the screen. So if I needed to get back to work on this particular script, I could do that. If I didn't get a chance to download it or send it to my microbit, I can go ahead and do that too. Whenever you connect the microbit, it gives you handy dandy information along with animations to show you and the students how to connect. And so the first flash, I'm sure you guys are familiar with this. First flash takes a little minute, but eventually, if they're using the same microbit, it gets faster. Didn't think it was going to take this long. My bad. And there we go. So there are several scripts, and this is one of them that uses the serial monitor. And so the students are given directions on how to open that up so that they can see it. And so they are actually able to interact. Oh, I didn't follow directions. Clearly said turn on caps lock. So this is a script that they will write in the encryption unit for the Caesar cipher. This is the final product. They'll walk through a couple of scripts, getting an understanding of how the script goes through the process of completing the encryption, and the final product is they will have a script that they can run where they'll be able to enter a key and a message and get the ciphertext, or I can go in the other direction as well, and it will decrypt. So that is a super fun little script to have if you are participating in something like capture the flag, where they use different encryption methods. So that is a nice one that they can have in order to get that going. So in cyber literacy, the activity we are going to take a look at this evening is the AI assisted scripting. And it's called the basics because this one is going to write a pretty basic program. The lesson that follows it, iterative development, digs a little bit deeper, writes a little bit more complicated script. But I kind of wanted to highlight these particular lessons because AI is, it's becoming a popular thing that we want to know about, we want to use. We want desperately for our kids to stop copying and pasting into their English assignments. So these lessons are super in that they don't shy away from AI. Don't label it a great thing or a bad thing, but really point out that it is a tool and it very much depends on how you use it. And so you get an intro down here with a couple of different activities, the basics scripting we're going to look at, and then iterative development, all exploring the concept of using AI as a tool. So as with any other cyber.org course, when you click the handout, it will be downloaded into your downloads folder. And then I'm going to drag that from the downloads folder into the chat so that everyone will have a copy of the PDF. So if I go ahead and open the PDF just to sort of set us up for success here, the directions say that in this activity, we'll be asking a chatbot to write some simple Python scripts for the microbit. Read through the chat log, follow the directions for typing and flashing the scripts to your microbit, and then answer the questions and exercises that follow. So it tells you that this conversation occurred at the end of 2023. And so the extension with this lesson and the iterative development is to go back and have this same conversation with a newer version of a chatbot, if your school has access to such a thing, and determine what, if anything, has changed. And so, again, really embracing the concept that this can be used as a tool. And so the user asks, can you write Python programs for the microbit? Chatbot says, yes, of course, and then generates the first program. Which actually is pretty similar to the first program that you see whenever you start the microbit Python editor, but that's neither here nor there. So the directions include entering the script that was given into the Python editor, run the script or flash it to the microbit, run it, and then name it and save a copy of it. But then we're going to move on. And so at this part of the handout, the user asks the chatbot what science is behind the chatbot's ability to write Python scripts. And so this portion of the conversation has the chatbot describing a little bit about machine learning, and so then we get into adding different features. And so the user asks to update the script that we were given to display a beating heart, and says maybe display that at 60 beats per minute. And so chatbot, of course, generates a script. And so then the students will go through and they will enter this script. And so creating a custom image up here called full heart. The zeros turn the LEDs in the 5x5 LED matrix off. 9 is max brightness, and then there are different brightnesses throughout there, and they explore that a little bit earlier in earlier lessons. And so we've set up this array for creating a full heart and then an empty heart, and then the directions include importing the time library from the microbit module, and then it goes through the actual while loop of being able to display that part, and actually gives comments. So never a bad time to remind your students to comment their programs, to help explain what parts of the programs do, which is especially helpful for us as teachers when we go back and they want help with the program. I like to tell my kids that if you can't tell me what it does, I'm not helping. So then the last part, we go through and we make refinements. And so the question is asked, how come you didn't just use image.heart and image.heart small, which were already in the image library for the microbit? And instead of importing time in, why not just do sleep? And so the chat bot is like, oh yeah, I can do that. And so gives another version of the program, which the students test, and then they answer the questions after that based on what they did. There are some exercises that have them describing how you could ask a chatbot to write a script that displays the smile if you press the A button. And then the second one is the description to a prompt for a chatbot to create a step counter. And so the exercises, again, really have them thinking about how do I pose this question? How do I phrase it in such a way that I get the best possible answer from the chatbot? Hopefully the first time, but as we see from above, there's always a little tweaking that needs to be done. So this is the handout that you will work through. I am going to open a couple of breakout rooms. All right. Just about everyone is back. So popping into different rooms, I heard some really great conversations. So I really hope some folks will come off of mute and share your impressions, some of the things that y'all were talking about in your breakout rooms about this lesson. And Sylvie, since your mic is not muted, I'm going to pick on you first.
Yay! That was totally accidental. I touched a button back then. Um, we actually had some very good discussion about AI, the pros and cons of using AI, what we can get, and what to be careful of. And we didn't write anything on the slides. One of the big concern that we have is content versus skills, in the
Hmm.
way that we reach a point that it's so easy to get access to information that the students don't learn to look for the information. They don't have the skill to work on paper what they can do
Hmm.
on the computer. We gave the example of maps. For example, we have students who can't find they take an atlas, they can't find their hometown on an atlas because they can't read in the index, they can't look, they don't know where north and south is almost.
Hmm.
So we have a skills issue, and we had a big discussion also on the validity, the accuracy, or there was another word they use, I'm sorry, how good were the resources used by AI. That's a big discussion because depending on how you ask the question,
Oop.
AI say a lot of things are not
Mhm.
where it comes from.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny that you talk about being able to read a map. I was down in Thibodeau, and a friend held up one of those old-timey hurricane tracking maps that we used
Hmm.
to get when we were in school. And so we would actually plot the course of the hurricane while it was further out in the Gulf. Uh, to practice those map skills to see that, so it's so funny that you mentioned that specifically. Maps are being put in front of me
Or
this go
especially
around.
as, yeah, they have their cell phone, but depending on what you're doing, you don't always have reception, or you run out of battery. Then what do? If you can't read the paper map, if you cannot read an atlas or a topographic map, well, call search and
Absolutely.
rescue.
Right. I don't know where I am. Yeah, so very valid point. And I think that you know, this lesson is really good for that, in teaching that yes, we can use AI to get answers, but we very much have to be part of the process. We have to understand what it is that we are asking the AI to do for us. And I think that second script in there is a really great example of like kind of the disconnect. So it was asked to write a heartbeat program, and it came back with like it imported time. It basically did everything not the way that we would do it, being familiar with what images are in the image library, knowing that we could use sleep instead of having to import time. So I like this lesson in that it very much makes the students part of the process, or and the next lesson behind it, especially about how AI doesn't always get it right the first try. So you really have to capitalize on what you know if you want to get a quality answer.
Totally. The other thing that we stress is the cybersecurity issues of AI, in the
Hmm.
way that people are not aware. They think that whatever you say to AI is confidential, but it's not. Everything that you tell AI becomes pretty much public domain. To a certain point, it becomes part of the database of the AI engine that you use. And that means that if you ask to write your resume, all the information that you provide to AI to write your resume now becomes part of the database, and there's a lot of PII in there and other information that um, can be used against you.
Oh, for sure. And I think, I think students definitely tend to take that stuff for granted. The reason I was in Thibodeau was for a Girl Scout event, and we did a classroom demonstration from our cyber.org range activities course, the Taylor's metadata. And so uh, the students were pulling pictures from a blog that we created, and they were looking at the metadata that was contained within those pictures using the EXIF tool. It was some seventh graders and some eighth graders, and when we got to the end, I asked, "So, are there any questions?" And they were like, "Nah, nah, we pretty much understood everything." And I was like, "Okay, comments?" And one eighth grade girl was like, "This is alarming." So we do have to be very, very aware of what personally identifiable information we're putting out there. And great point that it becomes part of the collective. So again, we can ask the questions, but should we? So awesome. Um, other groups, other folks want to throw in their 2 cents?
I can comment a little bit on what we were talking about in group one. Uh,
Excellent.
we were actually lamenting about how most AI is blocked in many school districts, uh,
Hmm.
and we certainly understand why. Um, but the question becomes, how can we find some middle ground and really show kids uh, how to use AI as a tool rather than a crutch, of course. Uh, and we thought that this was a great example of a situation in which you have a conversation with the tool uh,
Hmm.
rather than just say, "Hey, do this for me," um, and then just plagiarize the product. And so that is one concern in terms of being able to replicate this sort of activity. It's great to have
Hmm.
it in a worksheet form, but what tools are out there that are accessible, and or how do we convince our technology folks in our districts to make some things available for us?
That is an excellent question. I remember having to do a lot of begging. I'm like, please. I do know that there are a couple of companies out there who have basically taken things like ChatGPT, and they have I guess kind of put training wheels on it, so to speak, so that it can't get into some areas. They've kind of toned it to be more school appropriate. Usually tend to see them at conferences in vendor booths because that's not a free version of that. Um, so I guess like really there's no simple answer of how to get that done. And like you, I can certainly understand a school district's wanting to block that, and I mean not be part of the problem, but it does it does make a lesson like that kind of difficult. And so that was really, I think, the driving force between putting the whole conversation in the lesson, um, to at least have an example of a conversation that could be had, so that you didn't necessarily have to engage an AI on your own. That's also why for these particular lessons, that's an extension activity. Like the lesson is not written around, hey, go ahead and dial into to the AI you're using, um, because we know that is blocked in schools. So if anyone else has, any thoughts, anything that you may be using, um, please come come off of mute and let us know, because that is an excellent question.
There are some specific websites that allow you to do testing. And so it's very limited AI. It's not the full AI. There's a website where you can, for example, quiz your student on recognizing if the image is AI generated or a real image. So they can be photographed, they can be art pieces. So there are tools here and there that you can use that are not full-blown AI, and these are usually not blocked by the schools because they don't have the same level of abilities of the full AI. And I've used that as examples in the classrooms to make the student understand. I work with the Civil Air Patrol, so we're U.S. Air Force Auxiliary and a nonprofit education environment. And AI, the Air Force does not allow us to use AI at this point. But we do not do operational activities on AI. We are educating the cadets on what they can and cannot do, what is AI. So doing tests like that, we can do that. But using a full-blown AI, we're hands up. We're not allowed to do that, and we're blocked on all this stuff. So there are sites like that. I don't have it in my head like that, but I have your email. I can send you the information if you're interested.
Yeah, that would be wonderful, and I would certainly be more than willing to forward that out to the participants
Okay.
of this PD. So yeah, that would be great. Thank you. So looking in at the activity itself, um, did any group go through and take a look at the questions from the handout, um, especially down around the exercises about creating those questions? And it's cool if you didn't get time. I did get bored and closed the rooms early, so my bad. But I just want to share my screen one more time. All right, just to sort of show. Um, so I'm not entirely sure what your dashboard looks like in Canvas right now as far as finding courses. Um, but when I went to the high school and clicked on the version of cyber literacy that's there right now, it does keep pulling up the old version. So I am going to talk to folks about how we can get that corrected. The cyber literacy courses, as some of you may have experienced them in the past, are going to be archived. And so um, you'll be able to eventually find those original courses here in the past content area. So there are some different things that are already in there, and cyber literacy too. right now is already in there, and the cyber literacy version that works with the different robotics platforms is going to be added to that section eventually as well. So at this point, I do want to go ahead and end the recording because the next part is just a survey for the people who are actually on the call this evening. So in wrapping this up, I would just like to thank everyone for watching this video, but I did want to talk real quick about where to get your hands on some microbits if you don't have any in your classroom. And not just because they are on the call, but anytime I am out and about and people want to know where to get microbits, I recommend parallax.com. I have live in a PD before pulled up a couple of different sites, Amazon and whatnot, and in doing some quick price comparison, they are usually the best game in town for getting them at a great price. There are different setups that they have available. Also, options on being able to upgrade to the Cyberbot if you don't have any of those and you want to explore that. But right now, they have the Microbit version 2 Club Bundle going for $175, and that is a pretty good price. I don't think I've seen it lower anywhere else. So if you are in the market for some microbits or any other things in the field of robotics, you really can't go wrong with those guys. Parallax was actually very instrumental in putting together cyber literacy, both in the past and this current iteration. So we are thrilled beyond measure to be partnered with these guys. And so if you're looking for, oh yes, and Ken dropped in the chat that Parallax can help you figure out what hardware you need too. Education at parallax.com. Another great email address to keep handy for help and assistance. So I am going to go ahead and stop the recording. So for those who are doing this PD at a different time, thanks for watching.